Already, it's Friday, March 16th, 2012, and it's time for Comments X. Well, another week has come and gone. It's the end of the March break, or at least the first part of it. I think there's another March break for another group of kids next week. I can't remember. Spring break is coming up for either has come up or is coming up for a number of people as well. But spring break or no spring break, if I had time off and wanted to choose something to do, I'd probably be doing the same thing I'm doing now. So there's no fundamental difference between vacation and non-vacation. So this is where I am. So survived another week. It's Friday, TGIF. Had another good news broadcast last night. Was able to get another half hour in. The number of sources I have is starting to grow, and the amount of content that I have may mean, and I'm thinking about this, of adding another hour. I would bring it up into two, not do an hour straight, but break it up into 2 half-hour broadcasts on the news, because there's so much material to cover. There's so much actually going on sometimes that you're going to need that whole hour to get through things. So, this, I think, is that if you're watching the news channel and you're starting to see that there's an enormous amount there, or you like what's going on, you're going to find that there's a lot to study. That it takes a bit of time to get used to the amount of information that's there, because there's so much. When you watch the major news broadcast channels, the major news channels, so much is not said and so much is hidden that when you start peeling back the covers, you can be easily overwhelmed with the amount of information that is there, and that you have to go through to really understand what's going on. And it can be overwhelming. This is for even for people who do a lot of reading. There could be an enormous amount of stuff. An enormous amount of reading. More intense. And this type of reading is different than fictional reading or leisurely reading, because when you're reading a book, this is essentially, you're in the non-fiction section of the library. You're not necessarily reading the book simply to read the book. You're looking for experiences that the person has, and then you have to go out and find evidence of this experience to sort of get yourself in a better perspective of what actually occurred, particularly if there's information being hidden from you. And that can actually take a while. You spend an enormous amount of time chasing down sources, chasing down links, and trying to confirm one way or another whether something that's being said is true or not. And sometimes, just because you see something initially that you think is true, if you go back to it and you think about it again, there may be something you missed in there that kind of rings in your mind, and ask yourself, well, I'm only seeing part of the information here. It may tell you that parts are missing. And if you think that parts are missing, in order to confirm that parts are missing, you have to go chase down more sources to say, okay, this video that was put up there was not the right video. This was something else. And ask yourself why the parts that were missing weren't shown. And that's sort of how you begin. That's how you begin to do your research. That's how you begin to do, This is, and I started this years ago. And this is the analogy I use more often than not. Is it's like if you're a type of person who likes puzzles, and this is how I started off. I started off doing these years ago while I was doing my undergraduate work. I started doing these 3,000 piece puzzles. So I like puzzles. I started off at 300 piece puzzle, found it was too easy, and started moving my way up. And as I moved my way up, I got up to 3,000 piece puzzle. And the 3,000 piece puzzles, between 1,000 and the 3,000, took me more than a couple months to do. So it took me usually, under 1,000, I can get it done within a week or 2 weeks. Once you got into the 1,500 piece and above, it now took a month, 2 months, and sometimes, depending on the picture and how many areas are similar in terms of the shading and color, in the size of the piece of the puzzle, of the pieces, it could take me up to 4 months to complete a puzzle. And there was a sort of a process that I went out and did that I learned. This is how I learned a lot of my algorithms. Is that if you're faced with an enormous amount of task, is you start off with the basic stuff that you learn when you first start doing puzzles. Find the easiest pieces first. Which are the easiest pieces? You start work. You look for all the edge pieces, and you put the edge together. Once you put the edge together, you start trying to work from the edge on in. But every once in a while, there's always bits and pieces left. There's always a good, and this is true for the small puzzle, but it's more true for the larger puzzle. As you start working your way in, the references that you had before, the edge references, start to disappear, and now you have to fit together a lot of these sort of common pieces that all look together. And what I did is I tried to sort of separate things by area to see if I could sort of see how, and then you line up all the pieces that are together, you line them up in a sort of sequential row, and you go through them one by one, trying to fit pieces together. And basically I call this a search and sort algorithm. Basically, you search for something, you sort it, then you search again, sort, search, sort, and you keep doing that over and over again until you start putting together larger clumps of pieces. And then you start trying to fit these larger clumps, as you can do, because you're working on tinier areas of the puzzle. You try to fit these larger clumps within sections of the puzzle, and as you start doing that, and you're getting more and more the center field, not necessarily from the edge. Now you're not necessarily working on the edges anymore, but you're working on individual clumps within the center of the puzzle. You can start moving these things around and start connecting them to the larger edges, and that's how you start building things in. And this is sort of essentially how you go about building your library. And this is the way the library actually works. Is you view the library as a massive puzzle. Each book or each piece of information you're collecting, or anything that's in your collection, is the piece of that puzzle. And as you go out and find more pieces, and here's the problem. The pieces don't come neatly wrapped in a box, in one box. You have to go out and search for the stuff. And traditionally, your searches were either limited to the libraries that you went to or to bookstores. Now, a lot of the searching can be done over the internet, and the access to the actual domain that you have, in terms of where you can find bits and pieces, is now literally global, because it's literally all over the place, because you can now check sources that you were never able to check if you didn't have the internet. So basically, you take your standard, and this is the basis of library science. Library science is this method of collection and the growth of the collection, then from the collection, writing your papers, and in my case the documentaries that demonstrates what you understand. And the thing is, it's not necessarily that you have to demonstrate to somebody else. The writing that you do is important because you need to, that's the way you sit down and analyze things. You can sort of think about things, but just because you think about, when you come out and here's the problem. Thinking about something and speaking something or saying something is different. It is easier to stay, in many ways, not that it's easier, but easier. It's easier to think of say things in your mind than it is to write them out. And anyone who tries to write knows this. And even there are people who do an enormous amount of reading, but they hate writing. Why? Because this is the problem that hit. This is what I'm thinking in my mind, what I'm imagining, doesn't come out on my pen. I don't see it. And that's because the way we think about things, our imagination is fundamentally different than the way we write, and in terms of our communication. And I think is this process from going from thought to writing, and then from writing to speech, or in my case, once you've done writing to speech, you do thought to speech. You go right to speech, sort of minimizing the writing. You go so you're basically going right to speech. This is what I'm doing now. I'm going right to speech. You learn a new way to be self-analytical. If you don't go back and read what you write, if you don't go and hear what you said or watch what you said, and just to simply assume that you are the greatest person in the world in terms of your knowledge, then more often than not you'll end up in a very bad position where you're horribly wrong, because you'll have no sense of self-analysis. And if the importance to you is understanding and seeing things, then your own esteem, your self-esteem, right? Your own the esteem that you see yourself as, or the esteem that other people give, even the esteem that other people give you, isn't important, because your ego is not important. Your ego blocks you from properly analyzing yourself. And if you want to move forward in your sight, in what you understand, in terms of your enlightenment, then you need to suppress your ego. And you do this by being self-analytical. The better you are being self-analytical, self-critical, the better you can produce, the better work that you can produce. And the more you can understand, the more you can see. The opposite is true. If you are not self-analytical, then the amount that you actually understand, that you truly understand, diminishes. And you have a choice to make. You can either become this great tenured professor and walk around with the turtlenecks and the suits and the pipe and the whole bit, and float around as this intellectual god, or you can choose to be that freak librarian or the freak researcher who's hidden way back in the stacks, buried in the books. And my choice was, and this is sort of the guy I always wanted to be in terms of the librarian, is that sort of hidden freak researcher way in the back of the stack, sort of buried in all his books, and you just barely see glimpses of him here as he's he's integrated into the shadows of the library. That's sort of the researcher that I wanted to be and still do want to be. I'm kind of there. I'm not as much in the shadows as as that, but because the internet allows me to get out more, and I do have friends and family that I see on just about a weekly basis, so I'm not as reclusive as that. So, if this is something that you like, if you're a reader, and this is I'm saying to my friends who are readers and stuff like that, if you consider yourself to be a nerd fighter, so this is going out all the nerd fighter friends, anyone who else is a nerd fighter, or you consider yourself a nerd fighter if you're a book reviewer. Then there are a number of people I have that are on my YouTube channel selected who are book readers. This is for all of you guys. If you like reading, if you like books, then a library researcher, the way I'm doing it, as part of exploratory research, is the thing for you. This is something you should definitely consider as a career. It's not the most lucrative career. You're not going to necessarily become rich. But it's nonetheless is something that's fun. If this is something you really, really love doing, then I think you definitely should give it a shot, because you can start from now. As most books have some degree of truth behind them. This is going to be the backbone of a new documentary series I'm producing for the BAS Institute Channel. I'm still working on the channel. I was supposed to do some work yesterday, but I ended up doing work on my notes. Your note systems is very important when you're taking notes. That's extremely important to how you produce things, because your production is based on your notes. Anything you produce, including your writing, is all based on your notes. If your note system is a mess and all over the place, you're not going to be able to put things together. You do have to put together your notes, and you have to keep them organized. Right now, my notes, I've got more than 2,000 pages that I have to keep organized, and I do that on my computer system. But my notes have gone beyond a word processor. I now have this is why I enjoy Linux. Linux has features on there that you really can't do on Windows, and one of the features is that I'm able to put a Wikipedia style notebook together on my desktop. So I have a wiki notebook, and in this wiki notebook you can create, design things, and then you can organize them and jump around from page to page, section to section. Really easy. It's like you create your bookmarks, and you can jump around between these bookmarks and these sections as you tab these sections out for your notebooks. And so you can put all the notes, all your notebooks into one wiki system, and it's fantastic. And the thing is, this system, because it's on Linux and it's designed the way it is, you can extend the wiki notes into other programs. Even though the program is not integrated into wiki notes, you can sort of connect programs together. And this is how I created the YouTube channel selector, is that the wiki notes allows me to connect links to my browser, and with a series of clicks I can directly open up different YouTube channels, so I can sort of, as like a remote control, click around the channels and see what's on each channel. And so that's what I've been working on for a while now. But as I said, it's important that you do organize your notes. It's important that you have your note system together. And as I said, if you're interested in this type of work, then I suggest you go for it. If you're interested in reading, check out the new documentary series. I'm still working on it. The rough cuts will show up on the BAS Institute channel. The final product, the final episodes, will show up on the Physics TV channel. All the final product shows up on there. Shows, each channel is actually set up as a network, so the shows will be within playlists. And if a show spills over, like this show has spilled over into a lot of different areas, and so this show, BigBangTheoryRL, has a number of playlists under this main channel here, the Cyborg Alpha channel. It's within a number of playlists, and there's a BigBangTheoryRL playlist on each of the other channels, so that no matter what channel you go to, you can always come back to here. This is going to, Big Bang Theory, the Comments X, is going to be the center of everything. This is the behind the scenes. And what you're seeing now is you're seeing a geek at work. You're seeing a nerd live on the air, and it's behind the scenes. It's the work that they do, and this is why these comments are as long as they are, is because I have to explain a lot of the different research that I've done, the research that I'm going to be doing, and today, in a little while, in about a couple hours, I'm going to church to participate in a Greek service that is more than 1,400 years old. This is when the service was written. The language is in it, that was written in is still intact. We got the books from manuscripts, and there's nothing abridged in these services. The church that I belong to doesn't like abridging the original services. It's kept everything the same. The pictures in the church are the same pictures that you would see in National Geographic and a lot of the cave paintings for the cave churches that also date back 1,400 years and older, back to the time of Christ. So, as I said, my religion, my life, my ethnic background, the things I like doing, all have this sort of nerd characteristic where it's beyond what the standard person would actually, or the average person would do. So if you like this, keep following along. If you have any questions about reading or want to follow in a more academic path, but don't know how to do it, comment below, message me here on the channel. I'll answer you back. So anyways, I will see you later on tonight for the news. I am going to do a short broadcast tonight, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, take it easy.